Hey everybody, Sung here. Welcome to how to tune your edges on a snowboard. In this video, we're going to go over how snowboard edges work, what tools you need to maintain them, and how to tune them and keep them properly maintained. Let's get right into it. Almost all skis and snowboards have metal edges that border the outline of the board or ski. The primary purpose of these edges are to give you grip in the snow in all types of turns, whether they be skidded, but especially carved turns. When you buy a new board, it's fresh out of the factory, meaning that the base will be clean and the edges will be sharp. As you ride the board, your edges will both dull and chip through normal usage, due to coming in contact with rocks, dirt, hard snow, and ice, and other people, and all the other things out there on the slope. You want to maintain your edges and usually keep them sharp to not only keep the board usable, but also to keep you riding well. An easy way to tell if your edges are sharp is to put your fingernail against the edge and scrape your nail against the edge very slowly. If the edge peels off a bit of your nail, your edge is sharp and ready to go. If not, it's time to tune your edge. There are two areas of interest on the snowboard's edges. The effective edge is the area of the edge that actually touches the snow most of the time, whether in carved or skidded turns. This area excludes the area of the edge in the nose of the tail, meaning that when you tune your edges by yourself, you only need to tune your effective edges. There is no need or reason to tune the edge area in the nose or tail. In fact, doing so will actually ruin your tools. Contact points are the areas where the board's edges will make contact with the snow first and the most often. The sharper this area is, the quicker and more effective the grip you have on the snow. You could say the board is catchier. You want to adjust how sharp this area is according to your riding style, which is something I'll talk about more at the end of the video. Now, how do we tune our edges correctly? It's not as simple as just rubbing a diamond stone randomly on the edge, like some might believe. There actually is an exact convention and method that should be followed to do it right. If you look at your board's metal edge, there are two relevant areas, the base edge and the side edge. Take a cross section of a snowboard's edge, since I'm not actually able to cut a board in half. This diagram is a cross section of the area close to a snowboard's edge. The composition is as expected. This gray area is the metal edge, and the black area is the base material of the board. If we look at just the edge, we have the base edge. The base edge is the area of the edge that's closest to the base. The base edge is not completely flat and actually is usually factory produced to be at a slight angle just barely higher than the base. This angle the base is at is called the base angle or the base bevel. Base bevels are usually set at 1 degrees or occasionally 0.5 degrees or other degrees. The base bevel determines how catchy the edge is or how frequently and quickly it is to engage the edge during the turn. Good for carving, bad for butters. We also have the side edge, which is the area of the edge that is the side of the board. The side edge is also not usually just upright and is factory produced to be at several different angles. Different side angles heavily change the characteristics of turning on the board. This angle the side edge is at is called the side angle or the side bevel. Side angles usually range from 1 to 5 degrees, the most common being a 1 degree side bevel. The side bevel determines how much grip your board has in a carved turn once the edge is actually engaged. The more aggressive the side angle, the more edge grip during carves, especially on firmer conditions and especially ice. The trade-off though is a lot hookier of a board that catches frequently. Just a side note, a lot of ski and board tuning companies use a slightly different convention to measure base and side degrees, being 90 degrees minus the bevel. For example, if you see a tuning tool for an 88 degree side angle, 88 degree side angle is the same as a 2 degree side angle since 90 minus 2 is 88. Just keep that in mind as we go on. And I'll be explicit on whether I'm talking about the base or side angle, so just pay attention to that to avoid confusion. So let's review. We have the base bevel, which is the angle at which the base edge is at, and the side bevel, the angle at which the side edge is at. You might not believe it, but small differences in these angles produce huge changes in how the edge of the board behaves. To find what angles your specific board's edges are produced at, take a look online. From what I can find, all Burton boards are manufactured with a 1 degree base and a 1 degree side bevel, as seen on their frequently asked questions. Donek also states that all of their softboard boots are manufactured with a 1 degree base and a 2 degree side bevel on their website. If you can't find the angle your board's edges are at online, make sure to reach out to customer service and find out your angles as soon as possible. Knowing your base and side bevel measurements are crucial to tuning your edges right. As to how to actually tune your edges, let's get into it right now. Okay, great. Now you know about how base and side angles are measured, but you might be asking, why does all this matter? When we actually tune the edges of the board, we need to use diamond stones. Diamond stones are synthetic diamonds on a metal plate and are tailored for a wide variety of sharpening purposes, sharpening snowboard and ski edges included. There are diamond stones that are made specifically for tuning board edges and ski edges, which are the ones we will use. There are different grades of diamond stones, denoted by their grit or their hardness. A higher grit means the finer the stone. The ones I have are 200 grit or coarse, 400 grit or medium, 600 grit or fine. You want to use the lowest grit or the coarsest diamond stones first when you tune your edges, then move up on each grit. Low grits repair small dings and burrs, which are imperfections, in the base edge. Medium grits smooth out the work done by the low grit stones and make your edges sharper. And high grits polish the edge even further, making the edge ultra sharp. Now here is where knowing your board's side edge bevels matters. To properly use these diamond stones to tune your edges, you need to position them against the side edge of the board at the exact angle and somehow hold it at that exact angle as you pass it over the board's metal edge. If we're being real here, there is no physically possible way to perfectly hold the diamond stone against an edge by hand, much less move the stone and keep it correctly angled the whole way through several passes. You're going to have to find a diamond stone guide, which is a tool that accurately positions the diamond stone you want to use and holds the stone flush against the edge at the exact angle that your side edge bevel is. This is very, very important. You have to use the diamond stone at the same side edge bevel. Some stone guides only have one angle, but there are many adjustable ones that allow you to change the angle with a knob like seen here, so you don't have to buy multiple for different angles. To use this diamond stone guide, just insert the diamond stone into the proper slot and fasten the stone. All you have to do now is place the tool on the snowboard's edge, diamond stone in contact with the side edge, and pass the tool with the diamond stone over the whole length of the board a couple times. Okay, enough with the talk. Let me show you how to actually use these diamond stones and the stone guide correctly. For materials, you're going to need your board, diamond stones, and your stone guide. You'll also need paper towels and a cup of water. First, set your board up on its edge. You're probably going to have to get a vise if you don't have one already. Fill the cup up with water and plop the diamond stones into the cup and wet a paper towel very heavily. Then run the wet paper towel over the edge of the board, making sure plenty of water gets on the metal edge. Place your wet diamond stone into the stone guide. Make sure to 1. Start with the lowest grit diamond stone you have. The one I have that came with the kit is 200 grit, so I start with that stone. And 2. Adjust your guide tool to the correct side edge bevel. Remember, you should already know what your side edge bevel is from research. Now that the wet diamond stone is in the stone guide tool and set to the right edge angle, place the guide on your board's side edge. Make sure the tool is placed correctly on the edge. Starting from the nose or tail, place a bit of pressure on the edge, making sure the tool doesn't slip out, and pass the tool with the diamond stone along the whole effective edge of the board. As you pass the stone over the edge, you should feel slight bumps and nicks getting smoothed out. Make several passes along the edge of the snowboard, applying even pressure all throughout. No need to rush or overdo it. After making several passes along the length of the edge, put the stone guide to the side. Your edge is now sharper, but also covered in wet edge filings. Take the paper towel and wipe away the filings along the edge, and do this several times until all of the gray filings are gone. Now that the edge is clean again, time for the next diamond stone. Swap the low grit diamond stone for the next higher grit stone, and perform the exact same process again. Lock the stone in the tool, pass it along the effective edge a couple times, and wipe away the remaining filings. For the stones I have, I move up to the 400 grit stone from the 200 grit one. Just note that when using a finer stone, you don't need to pass the stone guide as many times over the edge as with the lower grit stone. In fact, for the higher grit stones, about 3 to 4 passes is just enough to polish the edge to further sharpness. Don't overdo it. Continue the process until you reach your desired level of sharpness. Again, you can test how sharp the edge is now by touching it slightly with your hand or fingernail. If the edge peels off a little bit of your fingernail, the edges are sharp and ready to go. Flip the board over and perform this process on the other side to get the other edge nice and sharp. Congrats! Now your board is sharpened and ready to ride. Just make sure to clean all of your tools of metal filings by running them under water and giving them a decent scrub with a brush. Let's talk about rust for a second. Rust occurs naturally when you have water on your edges for a while, and in the right conditions your metal edges oxidize and produce rust. This usually happens when you leave your wet board in a warm area for some time. Some rust on your edges is fine and just happens sometimes, but it will build up if not removed, making that board's edges difficult to tune and the board itself difficult to ride, especially for carvers. If the rust is minor, you can use a wet gummy stone and some paper towels to manually remove the rust. Just apply some elbow grease with the wet gummy stone to remove it. Remove the rust before you tune your edges, so that you don't gunk up your diamond stones with rust. You might be wondering what exact tools I'm using here. I'm using the Swix Base Edge Dual Edger tool, which allows me to adjust the angle for the tool to whatever I want from a range of 90 degrees to 85 degrees on the side edge. There's a whole kit that sells the guide tool and the gummy stone with it, and another kit that sells the 200, 400, and 600 grit diamond stones. I'll put the link to these products in the description of this video. And that's it. Here are a few more important warnings. When you get an edge tuning tool, you might get a file along with it. Files are heavily serrated pieces of steel that might be the same size as the diamond stone, but they are not diamond stones. They are used for completely different functions. Files are used for 1. Permanently changing your edge angles, which cannot be undone, and 2. For detuning the board, which I'll talk about later. Do not use the file to sharpen your edges. You will permanently remove a lot of material off your metal edges and damage your board forever. Only use the diamond stones to tune and sharpen your edges. I might have talked about both base and side edges, but only ever tune your side edges. Recreational riders should only ever touch the side edge, as it is extremely difficult to tune base edges correctly. Unless you have prior experience, do not touch your base edge. Touching your base edge risks damaging the base material of your board and the integrity of the whole edge. Have a professional tune your base edges and base at a shop once every few seasons. Now, this video is comprehensive and applies to everybody, but not everyone has to be as meticulous like I've been in this video. Edges should be tuned and sharpened according to your primary riding style. If you primarily carve, like I do, you need to keep your edges as sharp as possible as often as possible. When you tilt your board on its side in a carve turns, the board's effective edge catches, digs, and bites into the snow, holding all of your weight and the forces of the turn. You absolutely need sharp edges to grip the snow effectively. Sharp edges mean that your board will be able to grip the snow as you perform your carve turn. Not maintaining your edges and allowing them to dull and burr will reduce your board's ability to hold your weight and the forces of the turn in the carve, meaning that you will wash out or chatter out of the turn a lot more frequently. In a perfect world, you want to tune your edges after every riding session to keep your edges super sharp, but for recreational carving, tuning your edges every 3 to 4 sessions is enough. You'll be surprised just how much your edges can dull in just a few days, even in perfect corduroy. When riding park, it's too much effort to keep your edges sharp because you're constantly going to bang your edges on features anyway. Tune your edges once in a while and you should be fine. Once every month or 2 is okay. You don't even have to use a high grit diamond stone. Just up to medium should be fine. You might even want to detune your edges at their contact points with a file to purposely make sure your board is less catchy. First, tune your edges normally. Then, you can detune your edges by getting the file and passing the file just a few times over the contact points of the effective edge at a 45-degree angle. Then clean the filed area of edge material with a wet gummy stone and a paper towel. Doing this purposely blunts the contact points just a little bit, giving you a little more leniency with your features and butters. Alright, that's it. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to know when I release a new video. That's it, and I'll see you guys next time.